So guys, it's Quam. Got another video. This time I'm doing the H&K p30. Bring them over here. So I have two here. Mine is a 40. My buddy's is a 9. I want to talk about the trigger. If any of you guys are in the market for this thing or just doing research on it, you'll eventually hear people talking about how horrendous the reset is, and it's true. It's pretty bad. That's because this gun is meant to be a combat gun. It's not really a target gun or a competition gun. It's for people that need to use it for combat, you know, life and death type shit. I think it's a banging ass gun. Mainly the ergonomics. Man, it feels fantastic in the hand. First time I picked one up, I knew I had to have it. It feels really good. Very nice bore axis as well. And of course it's baller looking. I mean, it's pimp. But the trigger, and I'm kind of a trigger snob. I like good triggers. This thing does not have the greatest trigger for, you know, range and target and good accuracy and shit like that. And this is for shooting man-sized targets. So like I say, this is my buddy's factory one. It's a factory trigger. I'll show you. It has the take up to sear, and then it has a bit of creep, not much, and the break, and then the over travel. Gun cycles, and then the reset. Pretty long. When you're shooting the gun, you can really feel it. It may not seem long watching it on a video. And then take up back to sear, break, creep, and over travel. Gun cycles, and then reset. It's way out there. Okay. If you'll mark that image there in your head. This is my trigger job. I did this, you know, out of curiosity, just to see what it is about this particular fire control group or trigger group that makes it so damn hard to affect the reset. Here you have the way that I did it. I created a lot more take up to the sear. The break and the creep, the break and the over travel are very nominal. Doesn't move very much at all. That's about as much over travel as I could take out of it. I couldn't really get any more out of it. The gun cycles and then reset, which is a little bit shorter. Not by much. You know, the stock one is maybe there. Okay, we'll take up sear, break, creep, over travel, and then reset. And get this to focus properly. Okay. Still long. Okay, and the reason why you can't really go very far on this is because of the way that H&K has done their trigger group, which is pretty convoluted, I think. Not like most other guns. The restriction is this guy. Now I could probably have gone further with reducing reset if I was willing to make this a single action only, you know, cocked and locked firearm. If you had a gun like my buddy's, which has no safety, right, I would not do this to this gun, because you have to take the decocker off. You have to grind it off of the, in this gun, the full cock sear and the decocker are one piece. The decocker is simply it's pushing itself, which is the sear, the other end of it, out of the way and allowing the hammer to fall. The reason why it's okay for the hammer to fall when you push the decocker is because of this chunk of metal right here. I don't know if you can really tell, but it's pretty thick, it's hardened, it's very robust. This is what stops the hammer from hitting the firing pin. Okay, so if I hit the decocker, it will stop on that piece of metal, see? But if I pull the trigger, you'll see that that piece of metal, along with the firing pin safety arm here, the lever that moves the firing pin safety out of the way, the plunger, both move down and out of the way. See, this is the trigger bar up here. It's pulling those two pieces down as it moves forward. Right, so this is take up to the rest of your group right here. And once you reach that point, you can feel it. It's a very light increase in pressure. It pushes against these springs internally. Here's the spring down in here. You can see that little guy. It rides on top of that spring. It pushes this hammer safety out of the way. There's a notch here in the hammer. Cut out right here. See? The pin can go in there. Punch, I mean. And that is the part that goes over this guy when you pull the trigger. See that? And then, you know, disconnector, cock, and then reset. You see. So the way that I changed that was by stoning a little bit of metal off the trigger bar and a little bit off of the sear and hammer in order to reduce the creep, and taking some metal off of other parts in here. You see this is pretty convoluted, right? So the trigger bar pulls this piece, which has a notch in it, which catches this piece, which has another notch in it, which eventually will catch this piece. This is your sear. So you see the hammer, full cock notch is down in here. This piece here is a sear. Down in there, there's a notch that holds it in place. So when I push the decocker, it's actually the same piece of metal, right? This is the decocker and the sear, and you just push it out of the way, and the hammer drops. When you pull the trigger, these other pieces with little notches, little pins sticking out of them, wind up pulling this guy out of the way. And since the trigger bar is already pulling these two things down, the hammer is able to fall all the way forward and hit the firing pin. See? I'm not going to go through the effort of taking all this shit apart and showing you the individual pieces and showing you exactly where I stoned and all that. If you understand how to do trigger jobs and the concepts and what you're doing, and you know how to keep things safe, that is to say, to make sure that the positive sear engagements stay positive and you don't go neutral or negative inadvertently, then you start taking it apart. You'll see what you need to do in order to affect this particular firing mechanism in whatever way you want. If I wanted to take some more metal off, I could make this a single action only with, you know, cocked and lock on the safety, and probably done a little bit better on the reset. I just did not want to do that. It seemed dangerous to me. Or there's a piece of metal. Let's see here. I think it's been several months since I did this. I'm just now getting around to doing a video on it. The bottom part of this guy, if you can get this guy stretched out so it's shaped like kind of like a C, you know, if you can get this bottom part of the C to be longer by peening it, hammering it, you know, then that will also help you out with your trigger pull, or with the trigger parameters, you know. But that's very difficult to do. It's a hardened piece of metal. It's not easy. It's a little bit beyond what I thought was worth it for what you're doing, you know. I mean, this gun is not made to have a baller-ass trigger like that, you know. This is for shooting people, not for shooting paper. So if you don't know how to do a trigger job, then I probably shouldn't be showing you how to do it. Plus, it's kind of a pain in the ass, man. You gotta take all kinds of shit apart, and it's very convoluted and tricky to put back together. In the end, I think still a good gun. The ergonomics on it are amazing. You're not going to pick up anything that feels more comfortable in the hand, especially because of all the interchangeable parts to the grip. You know, the side panels, the back strap. So, if you're looking for a defensive weapon, great option. If you're looking for a competition weapon, gun. Maybe not the best thing to do.